Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning.
All right, why don't we go around the table? Bob Connors, Chair of the Building Committee.
Eric Swan, Vice Chair.
John Keller, Secretary.
Mike Riley, Police Chief.
John Lucy, Deputy Chief.
Zelt Context Architecture.
And Steve Theron, Vertex OPM.
Great. Steve, is Mike Cresta gonna join us, you think, at some point, or?
Yeah, I expect him for now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What we'll do is we'll just start our meeting, when he comes, we'll suspend wherever we're at, so we don't,
Truck is outside.
yeah, let him,
Last way in, maybe.
talk about what we wanna do. All right, SDM review. Chief, what was your, all I wanna know, Deputy and Chief, did you leave happy after the SDM the other night?
Yes, we did.
You've been waiting a long time for this,
It
and,
was pretty overwhelming too, the vote.
oh, I mean, you had 3/4,
Yeah.
Plus.
yeah, 3/4 plus, which is certainly,
215.
it's credit to the town.
Yeah.
Finally, we able to get this across the finish line. All right, if you go in your packet, tab 1, why don't we just get these minutes out of the way? We have the October 11th and the October 18th minutes.
Make a motion to approve the October 11th. I have a comment on the 18th.
Okay, do we have a second? All right, any further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those are approved. All right, now let's go to the 11th, the 18th. What was your,
I had one simple spelling thing where or became ORE.
okay, whereabouts,
Reading, yeah.
is it on the, what page?
It's on the third page, just below the little chart, paragraph right down there.
Third paragraph below the chart, yeah.
The rating of 80 or, and then the next comment I had is, did we discuss the reason of Dracut going out and rebidding their project?
I mean, we kinda did in general terms.
But the point was, is that Dracut went out and thought that they would do better, and that they rejected the bid, went out to bid. By the time they prepared the bid, went out to bid, which was maybe a month and a half, their project increased by $500,000.
Yeah, I think that they went out to had to rebid it because they didn't have sufficient funds.
It was over budget.
It was over budget.
But it just shows to the record that the market, the climate that was happening at the point of time, and
Well, why don't we do this, can you two get together?
Sure.
And you'll modify that, and we'll just continue these, put a hold on the.
not that big of a deal, but I think it.
No, listen, you know what, it's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, the only comment I have on the 18th is, where, last page where it says, police station meets the requirements to be able to maintain its accreditation, it's to attain. We haven't got accreditation yet because of the lacking facility, so it's
Yeah.
to be able to attain.
All right, so we'll put those on hold for our next meeting. Turn to tab 2. We have a invoice contracts. And Steve, I want to say that I saw the associated recommendation for payment from John. For some reason, I didn't print it.
He would and will do that,
Okay.
invoices, yeah.
This falls within the schedule of payments. Do we have a motion?
Make motion that we accept the invoice for Vertex.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? This is,
It's context, right?
yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's a good meeting.
Yes, come on in, guys.
Vertex, Vertex.
It's all the same.
So why don't we, all right,
Morning.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Do we have associated paperwork we can sign right now, just to get that out of the way?
Mike Riley, nice to meet you.
Hi, Jeff. Jeff, come on. Sure.
John Keller.
Thank you. There's only one flight of stairs, you don't need all of that. Oh, like one car.
And then Mike, Zell comes ago.
Nice to meet you. Hi, Jeff. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hi, Jeff.
Jeff, or, pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm John Keller.
John, nice to meet you. Jeff from BCP. Yep. Hello.
How you doing?
John. Nice to meet you.
I like the-
Gents, welcome, we're just cleaning up one thing, then we're gonna jump right into you, if that's okay. All right. Okay, do you have all your signatures there, John?
I'm all
You
set.
with that?
Yep.
All right,
It's great.
Mike, welcome. Obviously with the Newburyport Building Committee.
They want to pay the bill.
I
that's
guess
what they
I need a fraction more coffee, I guess. These meetings are recorded, so Mike, if you could, just introduce yourself. All our meetings are recorded.
I'm Mike Cresta, BC Construction.
And,
And I'm Jeff Vicente, BC Construction Project Manager.
okay, great.
Is that J or G?
J.
Yeah. And how do you spell your last name?
Vicente, V as in Victor.
Passing this around,
I-
just so I have everybody's spelling correct, just for our.
Yeah, and I have an assistant PM, I think he's kind of lost right now. I'm waiting for his phone.
Okay. Well, first, welcome and congratulations. We're excited to get going on this project and we're looking forward to working with your team.
Same here.
One of the things that was on our agenda this morning, and I'm gonna let Steve and Zell take over, we wanted to get, obviously, a 2-week look ahead, just to see, where we're at on things and how we're going to mobilize and what have you, and just kind of walk us through, you see mobilizing, securing the site, securing permits, and the like. You're aware that all the permit fees are waived for the project? Right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And the building inspector is no stranger to the plan, and I think you'll find him to be very cooperative.
I heard that most people here in this room are going to be cooperative, which is a good thing on any public project. This job is going to be video surveillanced by us. There'll be cameras on this property throughout the job and inside the building, so that it'll be recorded at our offices. So I can watch this job in real time. I hear that there's one gentleman that's kind of rough and down. So I just want to make sure that the site is safe and secure. Our goal here is to get the permits, get the fencing out here, get the site trailers out, start mobilizing equipment. Our goal is to get the foundation in. Once the foundation's in, putting up walls is not an issue for us. It's just getting the foundation, underground slabs in. So that's our goal, to get going here. Contracts, I just got them the other day. I signed them, gonna give them to Steve. We'll contact the building department at some point today, if not, on our way out.
I'd probably wait till Monday, we're closed on Friday.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's good to know.
but they're open Tuesday nights late too, but,
Yeah, our intent is to get the project off and running as quick as possible. Just hopefully we can beat the weather. That's,
no,
it's late in the season to get the job, but that's okay. We'll work around it.
yeah,
can start today if you want.
Yeah,
He's excited. I like that. I'll be excited when I see a shovel. Okay, all right.
Mike will be excited when he's got a desk in his office.
yes.
I'm on it.
And waiting quite
John, too.
a while.
We had the same thing in Norfolk.
Sorry.
They couldn't wait to get into their new building. And we had a good relationship with the police chief and the
Well,
down
the
there.
Board of
so-
Selectmen and your Norfolk Police Chief were two of your best advocates.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, they very persuaded our committee,
Yeah, well,
which is.
thank you.
My question, on
Yes.
mobilization, are you gonna require any off-site mobilization? I mean, sometimes you're gonna be, I'm not sure what you get for a steel package, or what you're going, do you need a crane or a pump truck? You're gonna be able to work within the confines?
To be honest with you, sir, today, after I leave here,
You're gonna take a
I'm
look?
gonna go visit
Okay.
the site. So I can put the answer to those questions in an email to Steve, and he can forward it along to you.
The point I wanna convey is, if there is a time when you need, because the fire station's right next door. If we need to use that for a delivery mobilization, as long as we can give the fire department a heads up, there's not a conflict with some other use of that facility, and we're not impeding fire operations, we can work around that pretty easily.
Okay,
All right, Steve and Zell, why don't you take over and walk us through the next steps?
Well, actually, do we have a copy of this for the gentlemen? Basically, we just kind of outline all of the pieces of the puzzle that need to slowly come together. And you can look down the list. First of all, I guess one of the things that, that's gonna be important to get the project going, we're gonna need from you basically a directory of everybody working on this.
contact list,
Yeah, all the contact list. Distribution list will set up, to know who will be distributing all of the job reports and that kind of information to us, in addition to, obviously everybody here will be copied if they want to be, but if you have additional people that you need, on that list, you can see, you'll have to know that. And then we'll have to have some emergency contact numbers, so that if there's ever a problem on site, you know who to contact, if there's any, who knows. Plumbing goes, and what do we call it?
Yep.
That kind of thing. So, anyway, that's sort of the basic issue. And the other thing in regards to communications is that we need to set up what the protocol will be in terms of the responsibilities and who will be the primary contact, who will be secondary, and how that communication will be done. So,
As part of our packet there, we have a draft protocol.
okay, you do, all right.
For rapid response up to a certain amount.
Okay.
It's actually the last, on tab 4, the very last
So
page.
you have that included?
We have to, and that's for reviews, Al,
Okay.
for the committee, and, but it's kind of what we discussed, but obviously, we have to get our town administrator just to
Mhm.
bless it. I think we're all on the same page.
Okay.
Joe wants it from the day-to-day to hour.
Yeah,
Call
yeah.
goes to you
Not
first,
just,
and then
not
to you,
just
and
the
then
actual.
there's-
Oh,
thing,
okay.
but
I'm
The actual
sorry.
communication,
That's fine.
in terms of
Gotcha.
anything that's relevant to the projects themselves, just so we can establish that, and then we'll, be able to know who we need to, copy or contact on any information. The other thing is, subtractor communication. I'm not sure how you guys work that in terms of keeping them in the loop on what's going on. It's,
We had constant communication with the subcontractors. I believe this job's being run off Procore, am I correct?
yes, if that's your choice.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
so-
We
Okay.
we're very well versed in it. So we are gonna have Procore, so everybody sees everything. It's the best way to be transparent, and it keeps everybody accountable, so we are gonna be using Procore.
Yeah, so we already set up we have a Procore account, we already set up, a student and I already set up a project for this Newbury Police in our Procore system. So, once we get this meet and greet, I get everyone's cards, I know whoever is, we'll invite you all, and you'll have, certainly you will have access to different things, you know. We use submittals RFIs, we've
Yep.
done, you know, change order stuff, but I
Mhm.
think we're just gonna do submittals RFIs, regular emails.
Yeah, okay.
So it's all there, and you guys can log in through either your you know, whatever computer. You know, you don't need a program, you just log into procore.com, you have a username and
We
password.
use it.
Is that your standard procedures, Al, is
Yeah.
that you would receive an email submittal, you'd
Yeah,
save it,
yeah.
log it in, send it to the consultants?
Well, it's actually all done over the
Yeah, the
website.
system does it.
We don't internally.
So you use Procore?
Yeah,
to-
well, we do, it depends on the job, there are some other.
That's what I'm asking, what kind of level?
We normally, leave it up to the GC to select, we give them a choice of 3, I think, in the spec. And they're using Procore, which is acceptable.
But when the
to us.
submittal comes in via email,
Okay, so what happens is the submittal is posted to us.
Yep.
And to access it, we just access, it's on the web. And anybody else that needs to see that will also be getting the same, in other words, if it's a subcontractor.
right, but you're leaving it up to the CM to issue it to the to all our consultants, or does it go to you?
There's
and
a,
you distribute it?
there's a drafted list of everybody that needs to be copied
Okay.
on the submittal. And that's an agreed upon, who that list is on that list. And therefore, everybody can get it at the same time. There are instances where we may forward it to someone.
Mhm.
But generally speaking, if it's clear who the party that needs to review it is, it'll go directly to them.
Okay.
So let's talk about that a little bit in
Sure.
terms of who wants to see what. So the great part about these systems is that everybody here, if they want to, can get an email and let them be notified to then log in or click on what that, right there, to see what it is. So every submittal, which I don't wanna say things that people aren't familiar with, so a
Yeah.
submittal, everything, for example, with the foundation work that's coming, BC will submit a document that will say, we intend to use this concrete mix, for example, and Zell and his team will look at that and say, yes, that complies with what the contract documents say, that is the correct mix, you know, it's the strength is the right strength and all those good things. And they send that back to BC, and BC says, great, now we're gonna go use it. So every single item like that gets submitted on the project to make sure that it's in compliance with what the contract documents require. So from a concrete mix to a steel design and a beam dimension to a door handle to a paper towel dispenser, all those things get submitted. So I kind of went from beginning to end on purpose there because it's quite a rush of submittals that happen at the beginning of the project as they purchase the items from all of their contractors and subcontractors. So we can electronically all decide what we want to see and receive. We can, every one of us can get an email for every submittal. You don't have to open it. It's no big deal. Or you can say, I'm good, I get 17,000 emails every day, I don't want any more. And I know the project team is gonna see these and do what they need to do with them. So everybody here can decide how much they wanna see or not see. What they receive on the committee level doesn't affect what everybody else does, but you have good visibility on what's happening and you come to these meetings and say, you know, wow, there was a spectacular amount of traffic this week or whatever, you know, and that's on a submittal, and that's on a proposed change order, and that's on all of the documents that flow through this system, so.
So Steve, what I would suggest is, let's put everyone on the committee on the list.
Yep.
I mean, the 3 nuts and bolts guys.
Yep.
When we see shop drawings.
Right.
Or, you know, data sheets on stuff for alternates. if a question is raised, we can then click on it.
Yep.
But as a courtesy, I mean, I know Mike, John.
I've been waiting 14 years for this, so send me everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
we'll see what he says in 2
I
months.
was gonna say, if you wanna tag out, and it's a click on the
It's
button.
very
you
happy.
bury it.
Every little
Bury
thing
the
you
guy.
change, or
See, my
get
file
an
on this
email.
is like this thick already, and that's
Oh,
just
Right.
tinkering with the paper of design build, so.
Let me offer this part. You don't have to get on the list, you can just go in and check and see how it looks.
correct.
Yeah.
You'll have access.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can always,
And I can change your preference if you say, nah, don't give me everything.
But you
It's
can
only
wait anytime
approved
you want
or
and see what's been coming
reviewed
through.
by them.
yeah, I
And
mean,
then you get,
exactly, he's right.
it does get a lot.
You just go in to the website, you can see everything that's
Yeah.
going on between all of us.
And
There
it
are
tracks everything.
classifications of the levels, like, you know, I only wanna get this stuff.
Yes,
You can-
they
I
set
can
those
set- I can
parameters,
set
So
that.
if we
that's
set,
why he's asking.
So I'll sit down with you and.
Yeah, well, I mean, we just got, met each other, then we'll,
it's
Like,
obviously
what-
flow into, we could say everything, say, oh, you know what, pare down, we can start with everything and then pare down to what we
Yeah,
think
They
is
can
right.
back you out of
Yeah, you
stuff
can-
that you don't
yeah.
have to.
That's
But you can still go in and open it, they just don't get the notification.
Right.
yeah.
Yes,
Mike, on the video recording, can we get access to that too?
that's a good question. I just had that happen with the fire chief in onset. He wants access. So our IT department has to figure out how to do it to let somebody else have access
Right.
outside of our internal organization. So as soon as I have that answer, I'll let you know.
All right.
If I can, absolutely. It's good that at the end of the project, we take the entire job and
Speed it up.
we speed it up
Yeah,
and you have but it's good for us. It helps us to have better control over the site. If I'm not here, I can actually go in, if there's 15, 18 cameras in a project, I can go and take a look without having to come. So,
I hate it. All right, if you could do that and just get back to
Yes.
Steve or Zell on that, that'd be great. All right, continue, guys.
So, I guess the contract award will be happening next week, correct? Is that?
The contract is being signed,
Right,
you
you
brought
signed it.
delivered copies today.
Right,
The town administrator, I think, is coming in today to sign and execute
okay.
on the town's behalf, and then we'll send out an original back to you.
yes,
And to follow up, you'll need to send a notice to proceed,
Right.
because that will, the actual date on that issue will start the clock.
yeah, I just recommend you don't send it, the notice to proceed until we have the building permit in hand. That's when the
No,
notice to proceed.
I think that's good.
Start.
That should be
That's a
the
good
date
point.
of the notice to proceed. Once we have a building permit, then we have, you can issue administrative notice to proceed, which we've already been doing anyway, so.
So, I mean, Mike, do you have a problem, I mean, 12/1 is probably gonna wind up being the day, cause
It is what it
if
is.
you submit the plans Monday, you will likely have, so you'll have to provide all the associated affidavits, or they already,
Yes, we did all the affidavits.
Form set that you can do.
So that's one of the questions.
Is that a wet stamp or can it
Do you-
be?
Yeah.
No,
well,
it has to be a wet stamp.
Well, we can provide the set for the permit, but do you want a conform set?
That'd be
Yes.
great, so everyone's working through the same set, everything's together, permit set.
All the
same
addendum
thing.
information.
We'll
is
send it
on
to all
there.
the subs, it'll be uploaded to into.
So we need some time to
Put it together.
put that together.
well, I think we're probably gonna schedule, I mean, if someone wants to bring turkey and stuffing and cranberry, we can meet next Friday too. I won't be here. Why don't we do this tentatively, we're gonna probably meet every week for the next few weeks, except for this week, till you're up and running, Mike.
Yes, that's fine.
I
We're
think
always accessible.
the town administrator will be the one with our council to determine what, she'll be issuing the notice to proceed. So we'll work that out, but I think you're 100% right, when you have the permit in hand, That
I
doesn't
just,
look good.
it works better for everyone. But rest assured, that doesn't mean we're not moving forward.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
no,
there's plenty.
you
we
have
can be
access,
doing.
when the town administrator signs the contract today, you have access to the site. It's yours to go from there. Obviously, as long as your bond's in place and your certificates of insurance.
It's already in the works.
Yeah,
Yes, all that's already been ordered,
okay,
and it'll be forthcoming.
okay, good.
The town will also need to issue the tax exempt.
ST 5Cs, yeah, I'll work with Tracy on that.
As you know, the contract time has been established at 365 days, and there's liquidated damages involved. I don't know if you have your subcontractor agreements in place yet, or if you're working.
I'll do that until we have
So
this.
to have the
I
contract signed.
plan on doing it tomorrow, next week.
Yeah, have the contract.
I'm drafting it.
signed.
We, Masuda will start drafting the agreements, but until we get this back, they won't be able to go out.
Yeah. Alrighty, so I guess the next item on our list is to establish, the actual day and time for job meetings, for construction job meetings. And I don't know if you wanna keep it at this hour and this day, or, I don't know.
So the job meetings aren't, yeah, it's not a full building committee meeting
Right, doesn't
at
make
all.
Mhm.
Yeah, right, just
That's
so
why
we're
I
differentiating.
didn't know how you wanna-
I mean, obviously, I think that, we're not going to have a quorum at a meeting.
Right.
I mean, I think one person will be there, or maybe a couple, depending who's available. And I don't think we'll attend every meeting, I think it'll be, as we're starting up to expedite the process, you know, for quick turnaround decisions. That's,
No, I understand.
I'm a 7 a.m. guy, Mike, I like to get it done.
I'm up at 3 o'clock every day.
Yeah, no, I know, I'm like,
Just,
I'm still snoozing around
I
that.
know.
I'm up,
And then we'll make them at 7.
yeah.
Oh, you can do storms.
What is your normal customer practice on this cell, Mike?
It depends on the activities going on, if there are other job meeting days, I don't know, what do you have open right now, what do you think?
Right now, we have Thursday and Friday open.
Okay, well, because Fridays can be difficult, only because sometimes people have issues on Fridays, maybe Thursday, we'll make Thursday morning,
Yeah,
like, I don't know, 8 o'clock or 8 or 9, something, when you guys start, how?
9. Yeah, exactly. That way it gives them time to get to the office, get with other, if they don't take it home the night before.
So I have a standing at 10 on Thursdays for the next
okay,
2.5 to 3
that's
years. So, yeah,
Thursday's not gonna work.
yeah, Thursday
The
at 10.
little job in Kentucky?
Yeah, it's local, which is good, but yeah, so,
Unless we started early here.
yeah, which would be fine, you know.
Just drag,
It's,
like in drag those meetings. We
Look.
only do 2 hours.
what,
What's that?
Meetings can go like 3 hours if you're doing a walkthrough, so.
Yeah, so meetings will go 3 hours, that I guarantee, but there's certainly plenty of stuff that can be looked at before and after, you know, to your good point. So,
Does Wednesday work? I mean, if we move, I
would
mean,
Tuesday at 8 work?
I have something at Tuesday at
yeah,
Okay.
10.
I mean, I can make any suggestion. Friday works great for me.
Yeah,
And at the head of the food chain, you
yeah,
know what?
yeah, there you
Let's
go.
have Friday and I'll move it from 7 to 8. How does that sound? We can adjust this thing. We'll try it. If something works better, we'll go along with that. It's kind of been our protocol on Fridays that, you know, as the only unpaid volunteers at this table, the 3 of us.
That's right.
Yeah,
So one Friday a month, I gotta go get paid.
yeah, no, that's true.
Well,
And,
it could be that we have, if you move it to Thursday for 3 weeks, and then there's the 4th week or whatever, but I think you gotta get started, right?
Yeah, you know, we'll start on Fridays, we'll go from there. We're gonna wind up having our regular meeting on Friday, so it'll overlap. Just because
Because
you
you're not running the
turn around and certainly change orders and
Yeah.
we're gonna move the comm tower over to your side of the table rather than have it be owner supplied and stuff like that, so. I think starting out, we'll be meeting pretty regularly as a committee, and then we'll cut that back to hopefully once a month, that's all we want.
All right, distribution list.
So Friday, eight AM is
Yep.
tentative.
2 weeks from today?
For the first meeting, yeah, because nothing's gonna happen next week,
Right, that's right. So,
so 2 weeks.
so
Well,
that'll be
the
the
fence would go up and
sixth.
So-
maybe something.
We'll need to have a,
Lock it with the-
what are the documents required for on-site? Is there
Well,
a
there's
copy
a-
trailer or?
Well,
what would
one
be-
of the things that, yeah, there's items that we would like to see, basically, there's, let's see, we can walk through here, but we need to understand, how you're going to manage the site in terms of, where you're gonna locate trailers, what kind of a.
But we can issue a logistics plan,
Yeah,
obviously,
just a simple.
provided that we know where we're gonna be able to pull power from.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
All
what-
depending upon where we're gonna be able to get power to the trailer.
Right.
And when? Because a request has to be made, typically that doesn't happen too quickly.
Yeah,
Have you talked to
So
the?
it'll be cold until we have power at the trailer, that's what I'm saying. So we can't really meet on site.
We'll do a short meeting.
Yeah, that's right, we'll do jumping jacks while we're
Yeah.
meeting or something, because, that's the reality of it, so we're
Yeah,
gonna,
yeah.
Meet right at
2
the
weeks,
station.
we should-
That's it, police station.
Oh, yeah,
Meet
we
right
could,
there.
we
Over
could
at
meet
the-
indoors.
We'll be at the fire station right next door.
Weren't
Yeah,
the
the fire station right
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
is it close by?
Yeah, they have a lot of things.
Yeah, throw a rocket at them.
Yeah, that's fine, until.
Does your copy machine work okay?
Sure. You know, there's
It's called patrol, we go to Dunkin' Donuts and bring a box of
State
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's just,
Fire
it's
is
supposed to be
fire.
right on the street, right
Well,
adjacent.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, there are locations where we can meet, so that's fine. We have no problem with that, if that works for us.
no issues with us.
So, until things are set up on site, we can temporarily meet at the fire station or the police station.
So basically, our project meeting starting, that will be at the fire station at 8 AM on Friday.
I don't think there's any availability of any place in the fire station, I think
There isn't?
I think they're all under construction in there, I think it's kind of a mess. Why don't you say the PD's, right next
Fine,
door?
yeah,
Yeah, right in the conference room.
yeah.
Okay.
So if you guys have a building committee meeting, it have to be public and posted there, so that's the good thing about being there, so we're not on the project site with the public, so that works on that side of things, and, maybe that's where we'll meet.
Yeah, I mean, I think the intent is, we don't wanna, to post a public meeting off-site and the recording, this and that, so I think we will make sure we do not have a forum that requires to be posted. We can bring it up at a regular
Yeah.
meeting and update, but, I mean, that's.
You might always have a quorum as a PD.
Just stay in my office.
Yeah. We'll send you for donuts, guys.
Yeah, there you
All right, we're gonna need to see, your proposed project schedule.
So we use Primavera.
Yep,
The only thing that we do, we use an independent schedule. The schedule is already in play. He's already working on it.
okay.
And once we have the subcontractors, contracts out to them,
Mhm.
we require their input for their items.
Yep,
So the preliminary schedule, I'd say, will probably be ready in about 3 weeks, maybe 4.
okay, well.
That doesn't mean that we're not starting, it's
No, I
just
understand.
to make sure it's done properly, make sure everything is in there,
Mhm.
so that the critical path is clear and concise,
Yep,
and that we know what the milestones are gonna be,
yep,
that we're all, looking to hit.
Right.
Need proper input,
Well, yeah, certainly mobilization can take place before the
Absolutely,
schedule is
without
done,
question.
but I think, the actual work on site will work. I really would like to see
Yeah,
that
the
schedule.
preliminary schedule, you'll see it next week.
Oh, okay, so you'll have
The
some.
preliminary,
Okay,
without the subcontractor input,
I
the
see.
way that PC sees the
Mhm.
job actually going.
Okay,
But then it tightens up once I have their input, right?
got it.
And then the critical path becomes clear.
All right, So we'll also need a schedule of values so that for your requisitions.
Working on it already.
Okay,
There's only one question about that.
yep.
So last night I was reading some of the contract documents and spec. The elevator, did it go back out to bid?
No, the idea was
That we can find our own.
you can just request, proposals for a new elevator. And
So call Anthony.
there's actually a discussion, here, amongst the building committee to change out from the traction elevator to a holeless
Hydraulic,
hydraulic,
not
to
moving.
save some money.
Yeah.
So, and we can give you a spec on one, that you can then shop out.
Dr. Beckwith,
Yeah,
we work with them quite a bit. They've done like the last 6 elevators for us.
yeah.
We can have Anthony get in
Yeah,
contact.
so the idea is.
They might be able to help you with giving standard, all this hydraulics to you, and the two of you can work together.
Okay, and once you have that and you get a price from them, then we can adjust that alternate, because you were carrying that allowance.
Exactly.
And,
That was my question.
Yep.
I was
Yep,
looking through it last night.
okay, that's the plan.
So you have a new spec for the holeless elevator?
Well, we'll give you a
Yes, send it to me, so I won't send them the old one.
No, just.
No,
he
because that's
might
a
have
traction,
to
that's a
get the,
different, the spec that was in the project is the traction elevator, so.
But you
it's
want
a different-
holeless,
Holeless
The
hydraulic.
holeless hydraulic, yeah.
Which
Because
is-
which would be a different spec then, right?
Yeah.
No, Nell's
it'll
gonna,
be
he's gonna
different.
update it, he'll send it to
We'll
you,
send
then you
you
can
a-
send it
we'll
to
send you
Anthony
a
and
new
Delta
spec.
Beckman.
So is this new spec gonna be a request for proposal? How are you gonna administer that?
Well, it's
a little
actually,
bit unusual, not hard.
well, because the GC owns an allowance
Yep.
for an elevator.
Yep.
The elevator spec the elevator is changing
Yep.
to a different elevator. And then when the price comes in, assuming it's less, which we all think it will be, because they're cheaper elevators, there won't be an increase in cost.
Understood.
So I don't see why we can't just do that, because it no
I'm just
longer
asking
needs to
how
be
you're gonna issue
rebid.
this spec, this stuff, that's.
You're gonna write an
No, it's just-
RFI and then you're gonna
it's
respond to
just-
the
No.
RFI.
Why wouldn't we just have
Yeah,
Mike do a
it's-
submittal from,
Yeah,
pick up the phone and tell them it's going to this, they'll do a submittal so we don't,
I'll just ask him if he has standard package. Obviously, they have to. I mean, usually, most elevators now, under 6 stories die, all this hydraulics. So, I'll talk to him. Worst case scenario, you send us an ASI, right?
Sure.
Say, change it to, holeless hydraulic, and
Yeah,
I'll take it from
You
there.
just want it attached to something.
Yeah.
sure.
That's all
No,
kind
that's
of. ASI
fine.
would
We
be, it's just
we would
supplemental,
make-
so that
Yep,
makes
it's
sense.
supplemental
Okay.
instruction,
Yep.
we can just do that and send the spec. So
okay.
this is the new elevator.
Yeah, so what will happen, as Zell said, in terms of how this will play out, is you guys will put a number on it, it's an allowance in the contract, you'll submit that, and it will be a change order
It'll be a
to
change order.
accept this item for the allowance item, is how that'll.
Just a quick note there, so, in October, the Massachusetts plumbing code changed for elevators. You have to have a sump. It has to be pumped to an oil water separator. I don't believe I saw that, so we're gonna need one in this pit.
I think we had a sump shown, I'd have to double check.
Just check it
I
out.
know we had a sump shown, but I don't know if there's.
To the oil water
Yeah,
separator.
I don't know if.
I don't believe so, because it just happened, and, we're doing a state project in Canton, state building inspector,
There's no grandfathering in for.
nope. From there
So when you
on,
pull the permit.
we actually had,
Yeah.
we had the pit done,
Mhm.
we had to dig the hole after
Well,
the
so
fact.
let's do this, that actually adds probably a
That's
level of
money.
complexity. Let's run it up the flagpole, see what it's gonna cost, if it is
More.
comparable to what we're doing with the traction drive, then we maybe just leave the spec alone.
Exactly right.
Well, no, regardless, whatever pit, it's for the pit. So it doesn't matter what type of elevator
It's
you
not
use.
just
Oh,
the
okay.
hydraulic, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
they didn't have it before they had it.
It just came out, it was October 21st. You might wanna talk to plumbing engineer.
Yeah,
The state plumbing board issued their findings.
So that'll be part of the ASI, we'll be
Yeah.
clarifying this point, and
Okay.
hopefully the nice complete package.
All right, moving on, so we,
Middle schedule.
yep, it's the middle schedule, I'm sure you're also working on that.
It's middle schedule.
Right.
It's cheaper.
We'll have to
This
see
one's
that.
a log, all
Yeah,
the
logs.
Procore, well, we can do an Excel sheet if you want.
I think it's
Well,
Like a
important.
tracking list, is that what you?
Well, no, we need to, well, the reason we want to schedule is coinciding with the project schedule is so that we can make sure that things are gonna be well in advance of when they're due.
We,
Oh, that's in our schedule.
it goes right in our schedule.
Okay,
The procurement.
So as the
officers are-
submittals are going,
okay,
Because it has to be linked to the,
It goes right in
to the
the
construction activity, because you
Right.
cannot do that construction activity
Right.
until the procurement's done.
So
Submittal and approval, so it's
you'll
all,
see it
you'll
right in
have
the
it in the
schedule.
schedule.
okay.
Any
Orders in the
RFI
schedule.
gets pushed up into the schedule. Any ASI, any change order, you'll see it be uploaded into the schedule.
So the other benefit of that schedule, the submittal schedule, is that the submission of that provides a common understanding of exactly what is to be submitted, instead of items that get missed. So there's like, oh, I didn't realize you need to see that kind of discussion
No,
gets addressed with that.
we issue a submittal log, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
With all the submittals required.
Right.
Yes.
For the
That's-
job.
That's what we.
That's what you're looking for.
Log the list.
That'll be in Procore.
Okay,
It's like a schedule of values, it all be set up and.
yeah.
Exactly.
So we
Because
don't
you're
have to
gonna
see
have
this,
this.
so that's it.
You know, I can push the submittals, and then what happens is, we inundate the architect, he gets overwhelmed with paper. You know, you have a lot of subs on his job, so, you know, you wanna take it in a systematic way, make sure it gets its due attention
mhm,
before it gets back to us.
okay. The other item is, I know that there, eventually you'll have some steel on site. You'll need to talk to the fire department, get hot work permits for doing your
Obviously.
building, obviously, so. The site, layout plan should also include a safety plan in terms of how you're gonna manage access to the site, security, you know, locking gates, whatever you've got, however you set up your site. We need to have basically a plan that we can then rely on, and that the client, the owners can rely on, and then know that, everything's being done, the way it should be. If you have workers on site, we're gonna need OSHA 10 cards, so that everybody.
The whole file gets uploaded,
Yeah,
it goes to Steve will have all of that.
okay,
Yeah, we'll have that on site, the clerk will have that on site as well. You do a sticker, program for, is Corey required?
I don't think so.
Corey, it's not a school or,
it's not as good.
it's
Yeah,
not
okay, all right,
an
just wanna
active
make sure.
police station.
Yeah, no, you'd think it'd be pretty safe there, but I just wanted to make sure I understood what was
What's a
called for.
sticker?
Safety sticker?
Safety.
oh, you figure out how
Everybody's
to
done their safety.
Oh,
Yeah, a safety program that you do.
They'll say.
Most of our
Yeah.
people are 30-hour,
Yeah, right,
everybody's mandated 10, right?
yep,
I mean, everyone's card has to be issued to us first. And every subcontractor has to send us a list of the workers that are gonna be on site, their license, if they're a butt fitter, it has to be in that package, their OSHA 10 card. All that is attached. If they're an apprentice, it gets attached.
so what I'm seeing is the next step or the end of that meeting where they sit with you guys and present that information, you say, okay, you're number, 56, and here's your sticker on your hard hat. That way, it's an easy check to know that the guy that has never been to the job before actually presented that document to you. That's that part.
No, we don't issue stickers.
Yeah, okay,
I can issue them a PC thing,
okay. So that's up to you how you manage that. Okay.
if that makes you happy, that's fine.
Okay,
Good.
we talked about trailers, figuring out where they're going and how you're gonna power them. We also wanna talk about a project sign.
Yeah,
So we have to figure out a location for it and, what that's gonna, kind of information that's gonna be on there.
Does the spec say what should be on?
I have to check what's in the spec, I'm not sure, but we can generate something. And you
The
guys
sooner you
print it
get
out,
it to
put
us.
it on a piece of plywood and, I think it should be spelled out,
I was gonna jump in and say, Steve, that maybe you should have a site protocol for the committee. I mean, no one should be on site unless they're actually working for BC.
Yep.
Maybe at some
Yeah.
point, the committee may need to get on site, or the selectmen at a rare occasion. So if you had just some simple
Okay.
protocol.
yeah, well, let's make that clear
It's
right
their
now.
site, but yeah, to be clear, right?
Yeah,
right.
we own the site.
Yep.
Once my insurance is on that site, we dictate who's on, who's off. Building official, whenever he wants. You guys wanna come on? Not a problem, just let us know.
That's what I'm saying.
And if it's
Schedule
after
site
hours,
visits is the only way it can be with you guys, so.
well, if it's after hours and we're not here,
No,
I can issue a key.
but no one should be on site,
Right, and we just,
Yeah.
should just make a simple, it's like
Yeah.
5 sentences, but it's published, you've agreed to it, we all understand the rules.
and, I mean, and chief, I think we can have enforcement
It's a
of,
great discussion, however.
it's gonna be a site of curiosity, because this thing's been,
Oh,
can't be
we've heard
kicked
it.
around for,
We've heard
10-foot high fence.
yeah, it's,
It's a step.
yeah, so it's, but it'll be fine, this is, I mean, listen, this isn't, the Taj Mahal we're building, it's a two-story wood frame structure, so.
One of our suppliers lives in town, so all the newspaper articles, he's been texting to us.
Don't read them. Don't read them.
So I think there was one for somebody, one of the town officials explaining the reasoning behind it.
That's good,
all right.
we'll do that, good, point.
You're gonna-
Yeah.
okay. The submittal process, obviously, we understand how to go on Procore, we will process things. We'll expedite the process. We do wanna point out that, there's revisions on any submittals, if they are not indicated on the revised submittal, they're just gonna get kicked back, because we don't wanna spend the time to look again what the changes were. In other words, your resubmittal should have the changes noted, so that we're clear as what. That's all,
Absolutely.
because it's just gonna make the process last longer, so that's all. It's just a comment about, because sometimes we have that problem, and, we get resubmittal, a whole sheet of shop drawings, and we have to go through the whole thing just to see
Like
what's
a
changed.
revision.
So, we just wanted
Define the
Make
change,
sure.
let alone
Define
check
the
the
changes,
change.
right.
Right.
So we just wanna make sure that they're noted.
I mean, usually, when it comes, revise and resubmit, whatever comment says revise and resubmit, or what product it will say, for
Yeah.
example, we'll submit just that product that it only has.
Right,
to
yeah, I
resubmit.
guess this pertains more to shop drawings, where you've got a,
It's like a steel.
shop
You want it
drawing,
clouded.
I can cloud
Right,
it.
yeah.
Cloud.
Just cloud the changes, so.
What changed?
you know,
Yeah,
That's
I understand.
just public.
that's
Say no
all.
more.
Yeah,
Say no more.
That's all. It makes our life easier, and it reduces the amount of time to process. So for substitutions, or R equals, if there aren't if the R equals are not actually listed in the spec, in other words, if we didn't give you 3 equals,
Mm.
then we will actually have to have a side-by-side comparison of anything that you wanna substitute. In other words, if you wanna substitute a product that meets the spec according to specifications, but it's not listed as an acceptable alternative. We will just have to have the comparison made, we'll need data, and we wanna visually see that the product is actually improved. So it creates another layer of review, kind of. So if you can stick to what's been.
You're gonna get whatever you call
Yeah,
it. It saves a lot of
it
headache.
just saves time and
That's
energy.
what I,
But sometimes only one item, a specific item is specified, and there are, it just says or equal. So if you guys come up with an equal, that's fine, we'll just have to review it,
no problem.
that's all. In terms of interior finish submittals, we'd like to see that ahead of time and in a sort of combined manner, so that we can go through and actually utilize the color selections from your actual submittals to present
Finish board,
for
yeah,
finished boards.
standard.
Right, no, nothing unusual, it's just that sometimes we don't get, that they don't come in that way, they'll come in, paint will come in 2 months ahead, and then we have to wait for carpet 2 months later before we can present, so.
You want all the finishes
The
at one
finish
time.
is just at one time, so it would help.
Let's look at write that down, Dick.
The other item is coordination drawings. I think, I'm sure you noticed in the spec, but, we do now require BIM, three-dimensional BIM coordination drawings. So, that will have to be something that's gonna be on your high up on your list to sort of initiate and get that going, because shop drawings for HVAC and plumbing and fire protection, all that stuff, we have to have that, the subs have to provide, and do 3D.
So BIM is specified.
It is specific,
We have an engineer involved.
yeah.
You'll issue the CAD drawings.
Yeah, we'll give you the CAD
Just
file.
send us the release form.
Yeah,
We'll sign it and get the CADs from them.
yeah.
Do you initiate the BIM, or do you work with mechanical?
No,
Let him do it first.
we're responsible,
They're responsible
For it.
for-
HVAC contractor first, and then down the line.
And everybody follows around.
Yes, that's gonna plumbing.
So I would need to the landscape sites, but they always seem to get files.
Yes, no, we'll
Social diploma.
we'll provide those for you to use. What else? Coordination with owner vendors, so there are a few items, not many actually, that are outside of your contract scope that have to be coordinated in the project. The main big item is the antenna, and currently it is not in your contract. And I don't know if the committee, I understand, has expressed some potential for moving it into.
Yeah, I mean, in your spec, Mike, you have the foundation, the blocking and everything else.
Conduit.
And conduit. What we're going to do, we have a quote from TCS, it's $50,000. What we'd like to do a change order with you, pass it over to you, let you coordinate, handle the whole thing, because otherwise, as a general contractor,
Well, just
that's
last
how I like to do it, so,
186-foot tower,
yeah.
wasn't in our contract, a lot of headaches. And we ended up having to do the lichen protection, and it just turned into a mess. I agree with you on that.
Okay.
All right, so,
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect.
so we would need, that's basically going to be a proposal
Yeah,
request.
proposal request.
But we need to issue a design data,
Exactly.
so.
What I'll do is, I'll forward
Yeah,
to the team what we received from TCS. I mean, I think you both really have that already, but, because it gave you the design spec for the tower.
yeah, we have
And
some
the quote.
basic information.
Okay.
I'm not sure. it's-
I'll send that over so that we can then,
The engineering is the issue. Has the engineering been done
you know, I'll,
see that.
Yeah, because it determines the foundation, but
No, well, we had something to work with, it was on our, and that's why we requested that information for the foundation.
exactly, because
However, the actual construction of the tower, I don't think we have details or.
so say the antenna is Motorola. Motorola has their own specifications for the footing, foundation, the grounding. So we would have to reach out to them as soon as
so
possible.
we'll start that,
Okay,
I'll send that out today. So, I mean, obviously, our communication will go through these two
Yeah.
guys, just so, because they gotta track paper in, paper out, obviously. Same thing, Doc.
Yeah, no problem.
And, all right, so I'll make sure that I'll send that over. Chief, who was the guy from TCS?
Todd
Todd.
Williams, yeah.
Because I know Kevin was working with Todd directly on that, Kevin Heffron.
yes, it was.
So-
And maybe you can check, see what you can do.
Could I just ask one question while we're talking about that stuff? The furniture plan,
Yeah,
is there an exact layout?
there's FF&E from the town that, yes, there will be.
So is it a set,
Is it done?
is it done? That's what I'm worried about.
It's in the plans.
It happened, yeah, it might be in the plans, but
Well,
things
maybe
change.
the things may change slightly, because one of the issues is that the town has to now procure the furnishings.
Yes.
So that process will take place, and there may be some changes in some of the furnishings.
Yeah, like I'm more referring to IT
You want data file
locations,
location, right?
because
And desks.
it happens
Sure.
and nobody wants us cutting walls open.
No, I
I'd rather get it done knowing this is the plan.
hopefully
in the
there'll,
rough.
yeah, hopefully there'll be time to coordinate.
Okay.
I don't see that, we usually manage to have those items coordinated if there's a
I think
change
the
in the
math comes
furniture.
back
To move some data in.
It happened,
We're
it
gonna
happened
see what's-
John
we're gonna watch the
Roxbury,
other job.
Oh, no, it's,
they went with the
our next
Mason,
meet, we'll have our committee meeting.
Yeah,
next
Mason,
week at
yeah.
7,
Be
12,
Mason.
6.
Yeah,
they bought the
We'll
furniture
first, we'll
from
probably,
there,
do a site meeting.
and the requirement
And.
changed.
Or boxes
And
and all
then
that.
we ended up putting in more boxes,
Okay.
cutting
Or
walls.
I'll put it on the
Yeah,
agenda.
they changed
for
the layout.
yeah.
So if the
Well,
product is big,
I
you know
don't
what to
think-
manufacture.
I don't think we're planning on any major changes, and I don't think the committee is looking, there's not, I think it may be if a desk, one or two desks are added or something, and if we need to add a data, or, I think that should happen, but I don't see it as a major
What
problem.
we'll do is, we'll have one of our committee members, works with the town as an architect. We'll coordinate with Martha and John, just to do a review, and then mark up power data locations, and then we'll just verify that that's what we got.
Identify new equipment, existing equipment, right?
Yeah.
So like floor ports, in a conference room.
Yes,
that's a big
because
one.
if they're not there, next
Walls
thing
are
you
one thing,
know,
floors are another.
there's 15 feet of cord coming,
Yeah,
going across 3 desks.
right. So I mean, things like that, sure. When, so is that drawn up someplace that I haven't seen as far as where?
There's a layout, there's a furniture plan in the drawing set.
Okay, but I mean, as far as the IT configurations, I haven't seen that anywhere.
It's on the in the electrical drawings, there's data and telephone identified. You have to look and see where all the locations are currently planned.
So is it possible to overlay power data to the furniture plan, just to, that would be
That's one of
good,
that's, yeah.
if we can do that?
I think so.
Okay.
I think, in fact, the
can do ghost
electrical
and-
plan may already.
May show that, okay.
May show the furniture.
Okay.
Now, was there I don't think there was anything set up as far as the infrastructure for security and that sort of thing, camera placements and that, is that?
Yeah, that's all,
That's
that's
all,
all
I
on
must have missed that,
drawings.
I was looking for
Yeah,
that.
we got the whole package.
Hmm.
So
I'll just sit down with
Here's
somebody.
something I like to suggest, in every job I do, is that once we're framed and those guys are about to show up,
Yeah.
they start
Oh, it's a
talking out.
walk,
Yeah,
it's
you
a
walk through,
walkthrough,
yes.
it's, because
You know.
inevitably, you're right,
Before it closes
inevitably,
up,
there
yeah.
will be some minor
Let
adjustment
you see it.
to the actual location of things,
Yeah.
including monitors,
Yeah.
including cameras sometimes.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
but I've done on jobs like in Boston for fire alarms, but for security, I make a couple of pictures of it, you go around and stick it on the wall, and there's the camera. Is that where you want it? No, I want it over here.
Yeah, so
That's
there'll
a
definitely be a walkthrough at that point in time when they're wiring.
The electrician on this job owns security.
Yes,
Okay, so you,
it's not separate, it's not a sub.
most of the doors are electronic strike, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
electronic locks, I think.
Electronic locks.
that's-
Electronic locks,
Even more, yeah,
the pad
Yeah.
swipe.
yeah,
Okay, so it's very
yeah,
secure.
yeah.
So, John, one thing you wanna, a critical point is an all your monitors, finished elevation, the
Yeah.
center of outlet, low voltage power,
Mm-hmm.
and then spacing, so that coordinates with the bracket.
Right.
John, there won't be any motorcycles next summer. You got a lot to do now.
Maybe not.
That's it, we're done.
Yeah. By the way, I wanna,
Motorcycle.
this
I'll
is
use
Selectman
this
Jeff
up.
Walker. Jeff came in,
Late, like always, school bus. How's that?
very busy guy, but, Mike Cresta, Mike,
Jeff.
Nice to meet
Jeff,
you.
And
I remember that.
Oh, yeah, Jeff too, right?
yeah,
Jeff.
great.
I think that is a real important point, and I'm not gonna talk much, but Mike, that was good. You put the shot across that bow, it's up to us now, so I think that's awesome.
Okay, the other thing that we'll need to coordinate and get on top of is testing and commissioning, because the town is planning on doing, obviously we'll have the standard testing, that's in the spec for a variety of things like structured steel and concrete and all that. But there's also, in the spec, there is a section about additional, commissioning that will be, that's gonna be done by the town, and one of the things that we have, are we still working on getting a new
Yeah, I've got one
proposals?
quote in, I've got a couple
Okay.
more that will
So
come
we're
in.
getting proposals
Yeah.
from commissioners
Yeah.
to do, that piece of it. And then once we have an agreement, and once we have someone on board, they will provide us a schedule of what they will require.
For
down
special
the road
inspections.
from the,
Envelope and mechanical.
yeah, we're gonna do some envelope, testing as well. So I assume that once we have 2 or 3, will you be
Yep,
getting?
yep, I'll assemble that, bring that to the committee and, for approval, and we'll finalize the plan for that.
Just put that on your agenda for our next meeting,
Yeah.
for status,
Yes, yes,
and we'll just go from there.
Okay. The application for payment process, nothing unusual, it's all pretty standard.
Numbers of copies? Paper, electronic, what do we do with that? What do we need to do?
How do you wanna, do you guys formally need paperwork in your end when it's actually submitted, signed, or can it be electronic?
I think you can send electronic, I'll probably print it out
Yeah.
and put it in our
As long as
meeting
all the
packet.
seals and
Yeah,
signatures are
I
on
mean,
it.
It's a lot, you know.
Well, are we doing a pencil copy first?
There'll be a
Well, yeah,
pencil, oh yeah,
just
that's
have
the
to- so we should
process,
get
there'll
the
be a
digital-
pencil.
We should all get the digital paper copy to read it and understand what's in it. Then you can bring the originals after we have that meeting.
I mean, it's just, all we're gonna need for our meeting is the AIA cover page.
And the schedule.
Yes,
of
It's
not
just
the-
balance to
the
finish.
first 4 pages of the.
Good, yeah, good.
Okay.
So let's talk about the pencil copy. So we typically, so if we say it out loud, we typically get a draft copy of the requisition submitted, and the project team reviews that draft copy. And basically, the, part of that is a projection when that gets submitted, say on the 23rd of the month, and it projects for work complete at the end of the month. So there's some projection, and sometimes the delivery that they thought was coming on the 28th comes on the 5th. So the anticipated billing gets updated, and so it gets corrected so that the requisition properly pays for things that were in place by the end of the month. So that's what that exercise is. So that review then generates the final requisition that gets presented. Typically, the committee doesn't participate in that pencil copy review. You know, it's lots and lots of line-by-line review of all of that, every single item that's requested, which is, you know, what the job is. And so we're happy to have everybody participate in everything, to be clear, or as much or as little as you'd like. So we typically periodically have that pencil copy review, you know, the old term pencil, it's not pencil, of course, but at after or during the project meeting, or construction meeting, to be clear with terms. So that's how that process works. So, you know, this usually, you know, I don't think I've been to one where there aren't any changes, so there's always
There's
something.
always
Yeah, there's always something, yeah, right, this is the way it is. So,
Is it completed in place or on site or in storage?
all those things.
Yeah, everything
Yes.
is on there. One of the things that we will also need to see on a monthly basis is a revised project schedule to go with the pay rec, in case there are revisions. I mean, there usually are some. So,
One thing that does come, the way that we do it, the schedule comes with a TIA report by the scheduler, telling you what's pushing the schedule, what he thinks might be an issue, by reading the job logs and the documents. Or that we're ahead of schedule, there's a report that comes with
okay,
for everybody's review, so they understand
sounds
it.
good.
We try to find the issue before the issue happens.
Great.
As long as it has a total project schedule look, not just
Total.
a 2-week look
Yes,
ahead look.
yes.
No,
Good.
you get the full schedule,
Yep, good.
critical path schedule.
Because you can't get 2-week look ahead to death, and you don't even know the big picture, so
No,
that's why it's
it's-
critical to see that every month.
Our 2-week look aheads
Yep,
Yep,
are written. We do not pull from the schedule,
gotcha. Yeah.
okay? If it just lists, these are the activities for this week and for the following week.
so one of the things, with the pay requisition, you need to understand how long, once the final is approved and submitted to town, what will be the turnaround time to get payment out?
John, why
We
don't
can
you,
go-
John, you've been handling payment recs for Context and Vertex. What is that warrant period? Every 10 days?
Every 2 weeks, we have a warrant period. So I could, so you know how, see, I could get you that schedule, because you'll see if we get it by the end of the month, we sign off on it by the first week of the month, it'll go in and you can see roughly, it's within 30 days. You know,
So,
like
John,
I
if
got
you
yours
can-
the first of the month, I'm putting it in today, so you'll get it in 2 more weeks.
So John, if you can send that, I'm assuming that, because the Board of Selectmen meet every other week. And the warrants, you sign off on the warrants every other week. So I think the selectmen meet on the second
Tuesday
and,
and fourth Tuesday.
second and fourth Tuesday. So that kind of tells you, gives you a little inkling that we want to hit, we need to hit the Thursday
Second.
before those dates to be able to have that.
That's when the warrant's written no later than the Thursday before.
Well, all documentation for the meeting to review
Gotcha.
has to be received by that time. I'm not sure if you require more time.
Yeah,
Why don't you work that out with
We-
Ellen
we-
and
we-
give us,
Yeah, we would need to know that, so
I can
that
tell you
we
that.
make sure that everything's processed.
So what I'll get you is, I'll get you, there's 2 dates, one is the date you can have the documents in for the
Yeah.
warrant,
Yeah,
and then the warrant date is the date they cut the checks 2 weeks later, which is a couple days after the selectmen's meeting.
Yeah, so we'd have to hit that second meeting, the meeting on the second Tuesday of each month.
So
with
a
that
week
on the
before, or however many
Right,
weeks before
so
we
that's
cut
what we'll
that.
set up with all this good discussion.
Okay.
I'll pull that together and share that so the new fellows should work out.
Yep, absolutely. And
Yeah,
every
because-
month.
Because usually the pencils in before the end of the month, and
oh, yeah.
at that very next meeting, we're sitting, you guys are working it out.
well, we'll just need to coordinate that and then make sure that our monthly meeting, or one of our monthly meetings, lands that, Sal, Steve, you'll be able to sign off.
Yep.
We review, we sign off, and it falls into line with the payment rec process here
Yep,
for
and, yeah,
procurement.
once we have a system in place.
Yeah.
then
We'll just do that.
then
And
we'll
probably
just-
what we do, because I do a lot of bank inspections in similar form, is that once we know roughly what the bill is, we give it to the accountant or the treasurer, so they know if they have to draw some money off the bond or whatever. Because they may need it a little bit of time. But we're gonna be looking for a cash flow.
That's exactly what I was gonna say with
Yeah,
your
they should
request. It's
have.
not noted here.
You'll
but
end
you
up
get
having a cash flow off your schedule, or how do you, is it, do you show your cash flow on your schedule? Or will you just
anticipated cash flow.
No, usually what happens is the PM, the OPM would send it to us, send some kind of schedule, what they foresee happening. Our CFO reviews it.
Just a little at the beginning and most of it at the end is what we usually.
All right, the first one,
Yeah,
get a little extra, that's it.
Actually, we already have a cash flow analysis that I had presented to
Yep.
Ellen,
Yep.
or to Diane Doyle, because she needed it for the bonding.
Right.
They
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
a
right.
funding on it for a period, so that's already there, and I did it like a usual contractor, we put nothing at the front and everything. And you know I'm only kidding when I say that, so.
And what they wanna do is they wanna know how much money they can
Right.
need in 6 months, and
Yep.
can they put the rest in the better interest rate? So that's all they're doing.
Okay, so I'll track that down, Mike, I'll get that with you and your team, and just review that to make sure that it's
reasonable.
Yeah, reasonable, accurate, a good projection, you know, and we'll get that back to the town after that process.
All right. So, just a little bit to touch on the modification, clarification procedures during the construction, and transferring information. Obviously, we would be issuing any requests, the contractor will be issuing RFIs formally for any kind of question that you have. We will respond accordingly. We will also be issuing ASIs, architect supplementary instructions, for any changes that we see are necessary or as a result of your RFI request. If it's determined that that change will cost money, we'll issue a RFP from you. And then you will issue PCO, a contractor's proposed change order, which will then be reviewed, approved if it's acceptable, or revised, or whatever happens to it. And then once it is approved, it'll be combined into the following change order once there's a change order directive in the next PRAC. And it's the standard procedure. I think that there's nothing
Yep.
here that's.
So one question I have, on the RFIs,
Yep.
what will be the turnaround time from the time an RFI has been submitted?
It really
I
depends.
mean, I know it's weighted on the complexity of the
Yeah,
RFI, but,
that's just it. Normally, those turn around in a work week.
okay,
That's an average.
so
sort of-
5 business days
Yeah,
is,
they're usually within a day or two,
okay.
if it's a simple issue. But if it's a little more complex and involves several
Mhm.
consultants having to respond and review, it can be about a week's time. If that generates a need to revise documents and revise a design, that obviously will add to the time.
So Mike, from our perspective is RFIs looking over the horizon in advance, so it's not just in time, that we're
Yeah,
task A is being done next week, and now all the questions have come up. Obviously, we want to see those.
I mean, as long as you guys are proactive
Yeah.
and think and look ahead and say, hey, this thing in 3 weeks is gonna be a problem because we think this and that. And that's, and then you see something that you think might be a problem, you ask us the question in advance, then there's not gonna be any delay in time, getting it to you, so that you'll have the answer before you actually get to
Well,
that
you'll have a
point.
sidebar after this meeting on the site to wrap it up.
But because this isn't, we're gonna be digging holes, digging up the ground, so who knows what that will entail, but once we're out of the ground, it's all new structure, so it's not gonna be like we're renovating something, and we'll constantly find problems, surprises, but shouldn't be that
Just
big a
details
deal
that
once
might
we're out
look
of the
like
ground.
or whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the,
Is there a way to, when an RFI comes through, that
Mhm.
it looks like it's gonna be more than the 3 to 5, 7 days, that communication back to them that this is gonna require
Oh, certainly,
7 to 10
we
days or
would,
whatever?
we
So
would
you know, You're probably
immediately,
expecting it, but at least you got it.
once we review the issue, and once our consultants review the issue, whoever it may be, and if it's determined that we actually have to revise the design or which make some changes, or, we will certainly let people know that that's gonna take some.
You actually can do that right on Procore, can't you?
Yeah, the
Progress
responses.
When we're,
Until it's official,
Yeah.
we mark official and.
Is there a,
at the
we're in progress,
draw,
though.
at the draw meeting,
Yeah, job
if the questions haven't been answered, we're gonna tell them, this one's becoming critical.
Right,
is there,
You need to get us this.
is there a component in Procore where you have an RFI, it'll also kind
Oh,
of.
it'll aggravate him. It'll keep
Well, what I'm curious about is,
saying you need to answer it.
will it say what the collateral damage of this not being acted on is, what this, how it's affecting the
No,
schedule?
the schedule will show that.
So
But,
it'll show what's affect, this RFI is adversely affecting this.
Yes.
Yeah.
so Procore has a standard amount of time based upon construction projects throughout the country, right? So if the architect is not paying attention, it's gonna keep digging him with emails saying you haven't answered this. Why isn't it answered? It just keeps going.
You can't shut it off, right?
And it
Can't block
will
it.
keep being alerted, and then all of a sudden, it'll go critical. And then Jeff will,
I understand that, the response, how it's gonna, haunt the house, I get that, but I'm curious as if there's a component in the RFI itself that says, this RFI, needs to be addressed because it's adversely affecting, and does it get into that detail?
kind of, in the writing of the RFI,
Yeah,
sometimes what we do, BC does, we might send the RFI, but at the same time, is give our interpretation or an answer to help the architect.
sure,
Well, that might work. It just helps the process along,
yeah,
right?
you might eliminate a couple of steps.
We might already know the answer.
Right.
Yeah, we
It's,
need it in writing.
you know,
Just
it's
in
just
case.
that we need it back from him, right?
yeah, we usually don't have issues.
Yeah,
I mean, if it is critical, like that meeting, that week, we'll walk it out, and we'll probably have a verbal conversation, then after that, they'll write a
Yeah,
formal.
usually, the flow is usually.
We're not gonna let something linger
Yeah.
from 1 week to the next, unless, as Al says, it requires,
Yeah,
everyone in the whole team has to touch it.
yeah.
I don't think, usually it's not an issue.
No, but it's good to bring it up because it's stuff that we've had sweatshirts from.
All right, moving on, as we say.
Yeah. Steve, you wanna touch on this, change process and dispute resolution? I mean.
You notice how Zell just passed that on?
Please,
Honestly, you have to look through the documents to see
Right.
what it specifically says, it's,
I think it's
to this project, so I'll get a
litigation,
review, exactly what it says to that.
There's no
I'll do that to bring
mediation.
that to the-
No mediation, it's just.
And no mediation.
No,
I read it all last night.
Okay,
I'm aware of that,
okay,
if you don't wanna have to deal with it.
yeah. Prevailing wages, labor requirements,
That's
obviously,
the easy way for me.
obviously they're in the spec now. They will be updated again next year, as you know.
What's that?
The prevailing wage,
Oh, prevailing wage, yeah.
yeah, so,
What is the schedule, when do they
Change it
update
once
those?
it's
Your
every
calendar?
6 months.
Yeah.
More than a year,
I think it's a calendar
Usually,
thing, not
Yep.
it-
It's issued
So-
by ASI.
yeah.
usually it's your responsibility to get it to us.
Yeah, the town has to provide the
Oh,
source.
Yes.
Okay, so once
It's updated.
we stick with the prevailing wage for the 365 days,
No.
No,
Uh,
no, it
it's
doesn't work that
adjusted
way.
accordingly?
Yes, but it doesn't affect the total project cost, the contract
That's
that's in
good.
place. It does
But
not
Steve,
That's what I mean, it's good, we're
that's
good.
not
More
true.
than a year, but.
I think that's what.
I will,
And
thank
then
you.
there's a multi-year.
Prevailing wage,
You have to issue them.
it's issued with the bid documents.
Right.
If that prevailing wage changes during the project, whatever trade it is, it's usually the MEPs, they're the ones who change most. That contractor does not know what that prevailing wage change is he doesn't have the ability to compensate himself under the low bid process for a prevailing wage increase. It could be 50 cents, it could be $1.50. I've seen it happen on other jobs, and they win.
Okay, a little bit of clarification on that, because I see it as
Yeah.
the opposite. It's their job to project, and if it goes up, or if it doesn't go up, then that's the risk that they take instead of, town risk. I appreciate what you're saying,
Yeah,
good
it's,
clarification on that.
Okay, well, you guys can, you'll
Yep.
do a sidebar on that, you
Yep.
can work that out offline, and
I think it's good to note that it can happen, so we don't get, well, you never
Yeah.
told us.
Yeah, it depends on
But we
the
don't want to hear about it
contractor.
ever again.
No, yeah, it depends on the contractor too, you know.
all right, so
But I've seen it happen and cause it's aggravation.
moving on.
Weekly payroll records. Um,
They're uploaded in Procore.
They are,
Yes, we have a compliance officer.
mhm,
She uploads the payroll as it comes in.
okay.
Is it weekly or bi-weekly?
Well, like, our people are 1 week behind, right? So they work this week, that check for this week gets paid that
I mean,
Thursday.
it's a weekly or bi-weekly payroll system?
No,
Payroll?
it's weekly,
Okay, because some places bi-weekly.
Yep,
yeah.
So, we'll see who at the town, wants to see that, those, the certified payroll reports. Typically, the town will wanna receive a copy of it, but it's a Procore distribution of that, if we wanna do that. Usually, it's not widely distributed, ever. You know, it's-
yeah.
Well, it's not supposed to be
Right, right.
because,
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Usually it's the
not-
OPM and
it's
it's
not
the
public
clerk,
information.
right.
that's right, because people's social security numbers are on there.
Well, we'll coordinate that with our town administrator on whether who, if anyone, within the town, structure should be, noticed on that, I mean. But I would think that it's gonna be the monthly requisitions. You're gonna make sure there's compliance with the certified payroll, and everything is.
Town gets a copy too, though, so we'll confirm
You-
who should get that.
Why don't you can work that directly with Tracy on how she wants that.
Because
They've been
somebody
saying
has to
it's gonna
review
be
it for the
Bob.
town or the
It's gonna
town
be out.
reviews it. It's not the contractor, so it's either the OPM or somebody in the town will certify that it looks correct.
Shouldn't the OPM or the clerk present it as presentable to the town?
And the BIL, if there's a,
Well, actually, no one's supposed to touch it.
Right.
It's, the certified payroll gets uploaded,
Right.
it's stored. If there was ever an issue, an AG investigator comes, wants to know who's the keeper of the record,
Right,
wants to make sure, can go right to a file,
right.
open it up to make sure
Right.
that it's
Well,
there.
that's what I'm saying,
No one's
the
supposed
town
to.
doesn't wanna receive it,
That's
the
right.
town just wants to know that they've
Yeah.
got your recommendation that it's been reviewed.
Steve, coordinate accordingly in compliance with the usual customary practice and oversight regulation.
Okay, so when you get to substantial and final completion, and it's all in respect of the contractor's punch list will be obviously required. You guys will make your own punch list, you will do your punch list, and then we will do our bid. However, just to point out, one of the problems we run into is finishing of punch list items can drag on and on, sometimes in some projects. And final payments therefore are held up for long periods of time. We don't wanna do it. So it's just, it's one of those things that at the very end of the job, everyone who wants to get out of there and finish up and move on, except that for some reason, certain trades, certain contractors will take their time in doing the
We're
punch
not
list.
taking that time.
All right.
We have a punch list, we have a punch list team
Mhm.
that goes in
Oh, I
at the
see.
end of the job.
I see, that's good.
There's one manager and whoever we need.
Mhm.
They walk, they have a time frame. They make sure the subs are there.
Mhm.
Even if the police are in, coordinate with them to get the little things taken care of.
Good, that's great.
Okay, so,
Is that manager not like the super uniform, is it
No.
2 minute guys, fresh set
yeah,
of eyes?
right,
Yeah.
right from the office, different person.
Howard, do you hang on?
Okay.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah. And in conjunction with that, project
Take a picture.
closeout requirements, we also need the as-built done, before final payment, all of the warranties, for the town, and all of the owner training required, in the spec that needs to be done. All of those things have to be taken care of before final payment is made. So, it's good to plan in advance a little bit, make sure, this will all happen during construction and during the commissioning phase in terms of what training needs to happen for the owners, and all of that will take place. That's usually not a problem. We do find that getting all of the warranty items and all of the specified final payment items, in to us can sometimes, again, take a long time. And it's good to have the subs especially, pushed along to get their as-built. I mean, always seems to lag at the end. I'm sure you're familiar with this, nothing new. So, it's in everybody's interest to stay on top of that stuff, so that when the final,
I think we just gotta bring it up, there's only 4 months to go, so with 3 or 4 months to go, we should start talking about it, not leave it for last month. Everything hopefully falls.
So at the end of the project, will we have a project spec book where that,
you're gonna have everything. You're gonna have a manual
Operating manuals.
this thick. that's gonna
well, you
have
know what
all
it is,
the-
it's the quick reference for paint,
Yeah, all of this
flooring, all
stuff,
that.
all of that stuff, and
You
you'll
call
have,
it souvenir
you'll
copies
have
of
attic
it.
stock of materials in case you
Will
need to
approve
patch.
submittal-
So it's a good thing we have an attic,
Yes,
yeah.
Should be.
We already got
No.
space for
No,
them.
No.
but you can get a
Submittal,
digital
there's no-
download
there's
from
no
Procore,
reason
right?
for it.
So is there?
Yes, you can.
Well, that's the reason I raised the question.
Yes.
If there is a reason for it. So approved submittals is the question, so that they can be sure exactly what carpet product went in place, and so to replace it, they know exactly what it was, not just who provided it,
You
but
will-
what it was.
You,
So-
well.
And it's not me, it's the fellow 5 years from now who's trying to figure this out. That's the question, because sometimes the project manual, it's required to have a hard copy of the approved submittal in it.
I have to check what's in our.
I think this day and age, we'd argue against the hard copy of every single
Yeah,
submittal, but if we
yes.
could get a digital download,
Yeah.
and
Yes,
that
sir.
can be stored.
Every closeout, we have a CD
We
or
have
USB.
364 days
Yeah.
to, figure that out.
Yeah,
so.
All right.
yeah.
I have one question, is the certificate of occupancy assumed to be the same date as the certificate of substantial completion?
Yes, it can be.
I was gonna say no.
I was
Because
gonna
they're two
say
different
no
things,
too.
one is a contractual, one's a contractual item, which is something that Zell and his team issues, and the other is something that the building department issues, so they may or may not be the same, yeah, so.
They should be, but not
It's not-
necessarily.
Right.
Usually,
Yeah.
the building official requires the substantial completion
In order to issue the.
to issue the seal.
But
So,
it
Just
has
listen here and we can
happened.
make sure that it's
Yeah,
part of the
but it
discussion
depends
as we
what
get
kind of
Yeah,
to where
town
it's
it is, or municipality.
I think it'd be good to talk to our building inspectors, yeah, that 2-3 months out and see what he's gonna be looking
Well,
for.
what we'll do is we'll loop in the building inspector from time to time to the weekly meetings, just to,
Inform
one,
us, inform the committee,
what's that?
inform the committee.
Yeah, well, I think, the only thing about Friday meeting, it is the day off, so. That might be the change. So, one question I have, guys, is obviously, our soil conditions are, we're not digging into bank gravel out there as we
Yeah.
are. So, walk me through, Zell, we presented a corrective solution for our soil conditions.
yeah.
What does Mike have to present? Because basically, he's gonna do a submittal of methods that they're going to propose. And what type of, what's his geotechnical stamp need to be, or What is that submittal gonna look like?
Okay, what they need to do is, they need to enter into a contract with a ground improvement contractor who will design a ground improvement, design, basically, of what elements he wants to use, what type of ground improvement he wants to utilize, and how it's gonna lay out in order to meet the structural and geotechnical requirements and information in the spec in terms of loading. And then that is actually an engineered document. It's an engineered document.
So that will come in the form of a submittal
It'll be a
to the
submittal to
design
us.
team.
The geotech and our structural engineers will review it, to approve it. Sir? There is a geotechnical report, but there isn't a formal design for the ground improvement system. There's a description of what it needs to be, and how it needs to perform. And the ground improvement contractor has to design and provide the drawings for it.
So, I mean, it's a design build with
It's a
adult
design
supervision,
build.
and that's basically what you're looking at, Mike.
Yeah, and hence the
There's
reason for
unit
other unit
pricing
pricing.
for any additional work beyond what's assumed in the spec.
Yeah, so I would assume no borings have been done.
Yes, there's been borings and there's been tests done. And there's
I haven't
yeah,
read the
there is,
geotech.
there's extensive documentation. And there's a description of the ground improvement system, that can be utilized. And the actual area that has to be supported and improved, in order to not escalate the site. The problem is that the organic materials go to a depth of up to 13 feet. And so.
That's what I was
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
at.
so the idea is to only remove the top
6 feet.
or so. And then do the ground improvement in the existing subsurface, areas. And then there's the backfill, and the new structure was set on top of the
So it's
ground.
basically to stabilize it.
Yeah, to stabilize it.
Stabilize it so the footing and foundation
Yeah.
remain intact. I know,
Yeah, it's also, the actual, geotech report spells out what should be done. So,
yeah, I'll review it. I haven't.
yeah. So that's gonna be the first thing you guys will need to do, because we're gonna have to, after you clear out all of the go scrubbing and grubbing and clearing out of that bad stuff out there. The not
No,
doing, that's
laughing about
another
it isn't
thing.
helping, you know.
Yeah, the not
Not
doing.
giving me a warm, fuzzy feeling.
So just looking at the clock, team, let's go around the table, ask any questions of Mike and his team while they're here. Then you guys can get on with your lives for the rest of the day. We got a couple of housekeeping issues after that, so. Jeff, any questions for Mike or his team?
I'm good, thanks.
I'm good, looking forward to working with you guys, it's gonna be a great project.
Yeah, same thing, looking forward to working with you guys, partnering, successful project.
John, any pearls of wisdom for?
No, I think we've done a great job in the, thinking back on the site work, because that's one of my pet peeves is on sites like this, make sure you've got it covered right. I know it's a challenge for everybody, and we did do the test holes a couple of times, as well.
Yeah, the information's all there.
Yeah,
I shouldn't be a problem.
We did test hole and
Getting
borings,
the design.
I
and
haven't spoke to my estimator, so I'm sure it's all there. I'm not-
Yeah, that's fine.
Chief, typically, construction sites start at 7 AM in residential neighborhoods. That's what would you be your normal hours of work hours, Mike? 7 to 5 kinda basically, or,
7 to 3, it's like.
well, you know, someone's
You
gonna be
flip
on
the
site.
lights on, right? In the trailer, probably around 6 is usually when they stop, right? And they try to get out of here by 2:30.
But we just can't have any noise till 7.
That's,
Yeah. You know, the big thing is on the,
you know, I think,
what will happen is,
Alright.
you'll have a material.
You can't really say that, but
From Michigan, and he's gonna be wanting to park and idle somewhere for, waiting for your site access, so.
Well, we have any equipment like that, I mean, they can idling in the neighborhood instead of disturbing neighbors, they can cross the street to Green or right in front of the police station.
Yeah, I just think what we can coordinate that so we keep our neighbors happy, and one of our selectmen also lives right across the street, so you'll
That's
have,
great.
yeah, you'll
Can make him
have.
the clerk of the works.
Yeah.
look, we're mindful of our
He-
neighbors,
It's a 7 and an 8 hard hat, he just wanted to make sure you knew that, so.
okay?
All right, John, any questions?
I do not, no.
Sal, how about yourself?
I don't think so.
You've asked enough.
No, you
Yeah, I know. He needs
You guys
water.
need hydration.
Yeah.
Steve, how about yourself? I think we got a working punch list we can work on.
Yeah.
We'll bring this up at the December 6th meeting. It'll be 8 AM at the police PD. You'll send the address, Steve, to Mike's team.
Yep.
Our board meeting will be at 7 AM. We'll wrap that up by 8. I'll post it accordingly. We may cancel, we may not need it, but I think we want to get Martha and John working on verifying power data for furniture locales.
We'll be looking at those plans well before our meeting, so.
Yeah. And Zell's gonna, if we don't have an overlay with the furniture and power data, you'll generate one, ghosted or whatever, Zell.
Yeah, sure, we'll provide something. I think it's there.
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's,
I'll check.
So, that contact list, do you think maybe we should just give that to the secretary, you can send that?
Yeah, the reason for it is that
Or you-
incorporate that in your meeting,
Yeah,
your
that's
meeting
why
notes, and
our
then we'll
meeting, our job meeting notes,
Right.
basically-
become part of our.
basically will
I'm
have.
just a cut and paste guy, which is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
Those two guys send me.
I have no problem volunteering.
Yeah, I noticed that. Those two will get their meeting minutes today, I might add a comment or two, but pretty much I just.
Mike, Jeff, and Jeff, thank you for coming. Pleasure meeting you.
When are you gonna mobilize?
Jeff's your point of contact for the.
He's my new best friend.
That's right.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When are you gonna mobilize?
Guys, hold on.
Sunday.
When anticipate a mobilization, I got a couple actually. Anticipate a mobilization?
Anticipated, I'd say probably 2 weeks. But, yeah, by the time you get the fence and we find power up there,
It's Thanksgiving next
you know, it's Thanksgiving next week, you lose Thursday and Friday.
Yeah. Is there a desire to have a groundbreaking ceremonial?
No, what we'll do is we'll do a topping off party,
Yeah, that was one of the.
topping off celebration in the spring.
Yeah.
I'm not a big one to turn on the shovel over the parking lot.
Yeah.
The town administrator will be signing the contract. I let her know where we're gonna leave them, and she's gonna be mailing it out to you today.
Okay, I just need to talk to Steve quickly,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then I'll give him the contracts.
All right, so the only thing left, guys, on our agenda is a change order protocol, which we talked about at the last page.
Yes.
I get a little
All
crazy
right,
sometimes.
and again, just a sliding scale of,
like crazy.
It's a good number.
well, you know what, it, there's going to be, we all know what's going to happen, and I think the big thing is that, Phil, what's your recommendation? Does that fall within the guidelines? I mean, I don't think we wanna be
All right,
getting too
all right,
involved in 1,000 to 5,000.
Yeah, first, it's, hopefully there won't be a lot of large chambers. So we kinda take, we have to try to control that. And so,
Oh, we would like a large negative.
Well, that's,
Eric?
you could,
We knew
very, very optimistic of you, but,
So let's go through the scale.
sure,
So
yeah.
chair, vice chair, I mean, John, you can jump into it,
Yeah.
we're the nuts and bolts guys. $1,000 to $10,000, I
It's
mean,
pretty standard home jobs.
Yeah,
I would just add, John, the first one, because.
yeah,
that's
no,
what-
it's,
That's what he does for a living, so.
yeah,
And I'll probably come to most of these meetings.
yep, no, that's, okay, so I'll make that adjustment there. On the second one, 10 to 20, yeah, I mean, so let's do chair, vice chair, and sec. But I think we need two, we need to have two, I mean, more CYA, have two people signing off on it. So that could be any one of us and any other member.
Correct.
But again, it's a nuts and bolts guy and then someone
Is-
else.
okay, the only, I just have a.
That's after you
whether or
guys,
not-
that's
whether or
after-
not the police chief and deputy wanna be in on some of this, you know, they're part of the committee. I don't know if they would, in other words, for,
I think we'll do due diligence to get
Yeah,
to the point of
okay.
signing it, but the official
Yeah.
signing and getting it moving
Okay,
is
okay,
what
okay,
this
okay.
list is doing.
They're gonna be on site, I mean, they're technically almost on site every day.
This is who,
And Deputy Dog here is gonna be,
yeah, this is.
I need a hard
This is the
answer.
actual
Yeah.
sign-off.
Go ahead, Eric.
okay.
but the proper debate and discussion
Right,
of committee all needs to happen.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
This is just,
Recommendations.
yes, all that.
So Steve, anything beyond 20K is would have to come to the committee. If it was time critical, we would schedule a special meeting, or it would fall in our
Very unusual.
bi-monthly meeting, yeah.
And we would say that in terms of this process, that if there is a change order, that it needs to be presented in a clear and concise.
Well, it's gonna
document.
show, it's gonna kick up at a weekly meeting,
Right,
which it kicks up on one Friday. Typically, the next Friday, we're gonna have a committee meeting before the weekly meeting and work it that way.
and we assume that when we say change orders, because sometimes there are changes and two or three of them get added up and
That's
actually
right. They become one
formatted
change
into.
order.
Why don't,
Yeah, yeah.
why don't we
first
call,
change order.
why don't we use the term that we're used to, as a change order proposal, or whatever that term is? 'Cause
Well,
that-
It's already in your,
it's in
that's
the
what I'm saying.
description.
Yeah.
Sometimes you approve two or three proposals and they get rolled into the first change
Yeah.
order.
And I
Yeah,
think,
proposal change
I'm used to
order
seeing
is-
this is what we're referring to as proposal being approved.
yeah.
It goes into a change order, but they're.
What I'm looking at is,
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
the clerk of the works talks to Steve, they talk to BC, and they gotta move the door, something.
Yep,
And it's $1,800.
yep,
But they need to modify the framing before they start sheet rocking or before MEP starts going in. I wanna be able to pull the trigger off over the phone. That's,
Yep.
I mean, I think that's the, right, Steve, that's
Yes.
really what you need for flexibility.
Yes.
I mean,
Formal term change order may add up to over 10, 20
Well,
thousand, but
the
the
idea-
change
yeah,
proposals are.
right, because
within
the
these
change
limits.
order might be 3 or 4 smaller change proposals.
well, each individual task within a change order chain,
Mhm.
we should be able to address via phone.
In
That's
this-
right, every line item of a change needs to be approved in this sort of schedule.
Yeah.
Right.
How it then gets into the pay rec is
Yeah.
separate from
Okay.
this right here.
Yep.
I mean, the way we view this is, you two sign off,
Mhm.
comes to us, you're gonna either red flag or you're gonna approve a rec that, yeah, you know what, they're a little ambitious on the percent complete or stored on site. We'll sign off on 80% of
Yep.
what it is. We will go ahead and review that and approve it. Then you guys can battle it out for the 20%. We wanna make sure that if it's a $500,000 rack, we think it's only $435, and that's what you're going to submit. It would seem to me, we would sign off on the 435, and then you guys would battle it out on the discrepancy. But would you solve all of that before we get to us?
So a little-
Okay.
And we're gonna have a chance to see, we may have a comment on it, and pass it on to you.
Well, you know, mobilization is
done.
an arbitrary,
Eh,
well, I mean,
First
mobilization's
one's
an
a-
arbitrary, arbitrary
It's just
amount.
It's a line item, they're just gonna have a line item of 15,000, whatever.
Yeah,
You
yeah, I
know,
mean,
It's just for the fence, you know.
mobilization is
I
gonna
think
be,
that
6% is
those
gonna
two-
be your first rec for mobilization.
Those two in Clerk of Works have to have agreed on it and worked it out
Yeah.
before it comes to
Yeah.
us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not in the weeds, we're.
You and I getting relieved on this one.
All right, so what I'll do is I'll make the changes on this, so subject to the changes we've discussed, we'll adopt this. It's obviously gonna be subject to procurement in the town end, but,
I'll make a motion with the proposed edit that we accept this.
okay.
I second that motion.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, I'll make those changes. Guys, that's all I got. I think that covers, let me just check our agenda here.
Next meeting.
So the next meeting date will be December sixth, that is,
And where is it, I'm sorry.
it'll be at the police station,
Police-
20,
okay,
it's
where we're gonna
25
have the
High,
reg- where we're gonna have-
25, yeah, 25 High Road,
No.
right? That's your address over there, John?
Yeah, no, I know where it is.
Okay.
I've been there.
And,
7 a.m.
all right, so,
Okay.
yeah, no, I think we've covered everything. Great to get going. I'm glad Mike and his team were able to make it today. Thank you, Steve. And Sal, thank you for putting together this kickoff agenda for us. Very detailed, very informative, and certainly the whole critical path forward to keep this flowing project.
One last question. Clerk of the Works.
As well as that's what mobilization, John's finalizing that. John was sick overnight, that's why he was not here this morning.
Okay.
And that's precisely why I asked that question.
Oh, okay.
So I'll get with John, give him that information, so he'll finalize what that plan will be, and we'll certainly know by the next meeting.
Do you suspect we'll have the clerk on board before Christmas or after Christmas?
At mobilization.
You want them there kind of
Well,
immediately?
Once
Okay.
they have
Yeah,
a,
once they're on site, that's when the questions start, and that's what that, yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Good.
yes.
Will you be sharing the names of the candidates for Clerk of the Works with us before you cut the deal?
Let me have John answer that, as to
Okay.
what that process is. You typically, a resume is provided to have that as part of that introduction, and so, let me,
Good, you know what? Something to address at our December 6th meeting.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
No different than the other stuff, there may be some clerks we don't want,
Yeah, yeah.
and ones we prefer.
John, those are the signed contracts there?
Signed
I
contracts?
told Tracy we'll leave those on Ellen's desk over
Good,
here,
because I'll leave this requisitions
Okay.
there too.
and she is going to execute it and get it back out to Mike so he can start buying others. Stuff. All right, gentlemen, motion to adjourn.
Make a motion that we adjourn this meeting?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.